What's up, YouTube? Good morning. This is episode 4 of the Ridge Fridge broadcast. If y'all have got any value at all from the previous 3 episodes, please let me know. I'm really excited to hear from you guys. Um, Today, we are actually going to be talking about one of the operator strategies, which is called midterm rentals. So, a lot of y'all have probably heard of Airbnb, and most of you all have heard of boring rentals, which is, the long-term rentals. So there is a sweet spot in the middle, which is sort of upcoming and booming right now. It is called the midterm rental space. And I have been dabbling in that space right now for a little while. And if you guys are homeowners or um, are renting in a place where there is a high demand for midterm rentals, this is a good opportunity for you all to arbitrage and see if there's any value that you can bring to other people, and also um, how this can help you. All right. So, a midterm rental, exactly how it says, is supposed to be a mid ranged rental unit. So, this is essentially for a digital nomad, somebody that's coming and visiting the city for 1 to 3 months, maybe 6 months, who doesn't really want to get into a full year long lease. There's traveling nurses, there's general contractors that come into cities for a certain period of time for a gig, and then other such like corporate customers and things like that, right? So they are basically an interested party that may not necessarily want to live in a hotel for the duration of time that they're living in. Number one, either because it gets too expensive, or number two, it's just a hotel. So it doesn't really feel very homely, especially if you're visiting family, or if you're there in the city for 2 to 3 months. A hotel sort of gets boring really fast, right? So the midterm rental space, I believe, really started after the whole Airbnb boom. Maybe it's been around for a while, but it came into my purview somewhere around that time period. And actually, Airbnb itself is moving into the midterm rental space, because all of you all may have heard of regulations and rules now that are coming in, which doesn't really allow certain cities or counties to accept Airbnbs, especially if there's like an excess of hotels or things like that, or travel lodging already, right? So in today's episode, I'm really going to talk about what the midterm rentals is, which we sort of covered already. I will show us our cool diagram that we had made from last time and see where it all fits in. And then I'll just like to take you guys through a couple of like web resources that I have been using in my journey. And this is some of this is a plug to some of my friends that I have been learning from. But y'all, they're making like multiple 5 and 6 figures a month, um, supporting this industry. And uh, with the rise of like digital media and work from home, this just becomes more and more important. And I liked how somebody was calling out the other day that like traveling and holidays is not necessarily a privilege. As we have seen after COVID, it's mostly a necessity now, especially how hard things are, and how much we work and all of that. So yeah, welcome to the world of midterm rentals, you guys. So I'll start sharing my screen again, and share with you all this handy dandy sheet that we were looking at last time. We were talking about how to acquire real estate and business properties, um, and we talked about like how to get the deal sourcing, who's the disposition team, where some of y'all might fit in, and where I am right now, which is in the operations space. So we're essentially acquiring land, property, etc., and putting it to its highest and best use, right? Um, and then there is the investor class, which is, hey, I have the money for it, and so it's sort of the investor lenders. Lenders is the more accurate term for it, because everybody's invested in the operations and in the deal, right? So this is mostly like lenders, um, and things like that. So where does midterm rentals really fit in? I believe it's kind of like right next to this Airbnb or rent by room setup, right? So I'm just going to call it MTR, or midterm rental for short, right? Y'all, we're going to touch on the different strategies that exist in the MTR space. This may be a little bit new for some of you guys. If that's the case, please feel free to take notes and ask questions, because I am learning and operating in this space right now, and it's actually pretty fun. So I found this graphic on Cure's website. Thank you, Real Estate Cure. Great blog infographic. Who rents a midterm rental? So these are the typical midterm rentals. We have nurses, doctors, patients and families, IT professionals like the digital nomads, right? I'm sort of under that space right now. And then contractors, military, and government officials. Now, this is also a very important sub section of the community that requires midterm rentals, because a lot of times there's like moving officers from base A to base B, and they don't necessarily want to live on base. So if y'all have a property around like an Air Force base or a military base or something like that, you probably see a lot of success with the MTR, with potentially marketing to military and government officials as well. They are in for a couple of months. They're usually on a stipend. They're good customers. They're reputable. And also sometimes there are postings from the government themselves, which is a really interesting space to be in, you guys. A lot of my friends work with government contracting and hotel and lodging contracts, and end up making like hundreds and millions of dollars, right? Because it's like long term. You're working on setting up that military and government housing with or without really owning real estate. Really, I do want to call that out. So a lot of these strategies you can use even if you don't own your house, even if you're renting it and you have an extra room, or you have a garage that you're not using, and can convert it into like a livable unit or something like that. This is a strategy that you could use. Film crews, sure. If you have a great travel destination, these guys will come in for like a couple of months as they do their shoots, and could be small, could be a larger time period. But again, they don't really want to stay in a hotel of like 1 to 2 beds, and they would rather be in a house with like a backyard, a fireplace, etc., etc. So I do want to touch on where you can find some of these midterm rentals. So Airbnb, we know pretty much as Airbnb and VRBO and things like that. There is a different space that you would list and market your properties, and would find properties for a midterm rental. So a midterm rental is basically called, in other words, it's called furnished housing. So I want to take you all to furnishedfinder.com. This is where you can put in, this is pretty much an Airbnb for midterm rentals. Okay. The good thing is that if you know you're going to be in that space for a couple of months, um, you don't have to pay the Airbnb rate, and you don't have to pay the Airbnb fees. But you can still lock in a place to call home for those months that you need a temporary accommodation. Okay. So plug in your address when you would like to start, and it pretty much gives you all of the different options that exist. I was on a different screen here because I wanted to show you guys. If you go to the resources and the property owner resource section, you can pretty much do a search of what city and state you want to search in, and then um, Furnished Finder basically gives you searches in the last 12 months. So you can see that Denver's getting about 1.2 million searches, people that are interested in acquiring a midterm property and rent. Um, and then property listing pages views. There's also a total number of rentals that are available in Denver. Uh, Folks also rent by room. So there's that little section over here. And then it gives you like a nice little graph. Let's just plug in a real address. I was looking at Phoenix earlier. That is where I live right now. So map searches for Phoenix, 1.3 million searches, right, in the last 12 months. There is a big demand because right now there's about 4,000 units, 4,700 units that are servicing midterm rentals for all of these different folks that we spoke about: nurses, doctors, patients, military folks, IT professionals, contractors, film crews, right? Um, so there are rent by rooms, again, only 700 of them. And you can see that the demand is pretty high potentially. The Phoenix private unit is a whole house, so that's basically the split for the total rentals there. And then our graphs here show what is the breakdown. So this one was an interesting chart for me. Housing in Phoenix bedroom count. So right now we mostly have 37% one bedroom units that are available for a midterm rental, and then about 29% which are two bedroom. And I'm sort of on the fence because like a lot of time real estate investors will support affordable housing by creating like some y'all. I used to live in a 7 bedroom, 4 bath house once in the Midwest, and uh, that was way too big. Like they tried to split it up into a 2 units, but it was still too big. I thought it should be split up into 3 units because of how big it was. It could have even split out into 4 units, y'all. I'm not even joking. I wish I was making this up. But what I'm trying to say is that the days of those giant nuclear families are sort of like deteriorating and they're like gone. So most folks just want to live in a small unit in a small family. And if I could have just used that space for added an external staircase and like a fire escape, right? And that's really what I would have done to distribute 4 units out of that giant big house. So there are, I guess, 5 and 6 bedroom options. They do exist, but most of the times they are, like four four family members, 2 kids, one wife and a husband, um, and like maybe one office space or something like that, right? But they're small. They're only about 1% of the total market unit space because the demand isn't that big. Most folks, even that are like 4 or 5 people, can pretty much accommodate in a 4 bedroom or a 3 bedroom for a couple of months, right? So all right, that was Furnished Finder. List your property, you guys. I have done the same for my properties here in Phoenix, and seeing some success. All right, I want to give a big shout out to one of my buddies, Jiez. So this girl is absolutely crushing it in the midterm rental space. You all should check out her Skool community. It's just skool.com/mtr, where she posts all about her success that she's having with midterm rentals and the strategies and the people that uh, she's working with and how she's working with it and how she's scaling her business. She's honestly one of the best like midterm operator business owners that I know. Fortunately, I'm so happy to call her my friend. I've worked with her on this house, so I did invite her to come out and give me some advice on how I should use the space as an MTR and things like that. Now, a lot of you guys would be like, "Oh, Fridge, you're so lucky. You're in Phoenix, so you can like go hang out with all these cool people." Well, you can still join the Skool community and learn a thing or two from this MTR space if you'd like. This is a completely free um, course and community. There is a paid group also, but it's, if you're new to this, if you have absolutely no idea what a MTR is and how you can leverage some of these strategies as a real estate investor, or call yourself a real estate investor, you should check out the midterm rental space that GS has put on. Okay, shameless plug. We did go to a really cool um, foodie uh, food truck spot, like with some amazing people that I met at Subto and that are like my partners and my friends. So Jiez is this fine lady over here. We have Kevin Cho, who's also like a big YouTube uh, person that's like that also uses a lot of creative finance and is a real estate investor. And then that's my buddy Gage. I love Gage. He is the tech operations and the technical know-how behind the whole entire operation. And then Ryan here, he serves as a closer on the team. And we'll talk a little bit more about what a closer is in some of our later videos, and like uh, where that role sort of fits in into this overall wholesale, when you get into like real estate wholesaling and getting properties at a much lower discount and things like that. I will cover that as a later topic in my uh, on my YouTube. All right, you guys, I do not recommend spending $17 on that cute little cat. That was a lot of sugar. But the little cat was cute, but yeah. All right. So check out Jiez's midterm rental space. She does talk a lot about all of the good success that she's been having, which keeps you motivated. She's using probably all of the strategies under the sun and getting mailbox money. Don't we all like mailbox money, all right. So this is just something that you guys should check out. And then she does have um, a paid group, y'all. One of the things to call out is that on an MTR space, you do have high season, low season, so it is sort of a little bit more active involved of property management. So you do have to take a more active role. So a lot of times you will want to have a team around you, available contacts of like handymen or emergency contacts that you can reach out to and stuff like that. But I do want to show just on a high level what are the different strategies that can exist in an MTR. So um, if you're just interested in the basic 99% of the MTR, that is uh, she's covered all of that in detail, y'all. She talks about how to do the market analysis, how to do the underwriting for the deal, meaning all of the numbers make sense and everything. Um, so she looks into this very scientifically and from a data driven standpoint and teaches us how to do that also. So how to do your market analysis, how to write the numbers, that's really what underwriting is. How you should set a goal and a vision for your business projects and for you as a midterm investor. What are some of the marketing and advertising channels that you would use? um, Again, you do have the processes and systems are a little bit different on the MTR side than Airbnb, so you do have to create a lease, get that signed, um, um, you know vet out your tenant, make sure that they are in good standing before you go ahead and lease them. She also covers how to scale and how to set up a team that is going to make you successful in this endeavor. So for example, for me, I have a W2 9 to 5, and a lot of this does require uh, additional work during that time period, and I'm really not able to apply myself to the space. So, and I still need the work to get done. So y'all, if you're in America, you have to learn the art of delegation and having an assistant or a lieutenant somebody that you can rely on and that can run your business also. And the good thing is you can rely on people in different places of the world, especially in this day and age, right? Um, so she does talk about furnishing it. Of course, you do have to furnish your MTR units before you set it up, right? And then the management tools and how to expand. So again, amazing information. If you guys are interested in this space, your community to go check out. Um, Strategy called relocations, which is again a midterm strategy, but this is when you work with insurance companies and you set up other families that are affected uh, by like loss and uh, something happened to their house and they need to leave because of insurance. So insurance covers their rent at a new place, make sure that they find a good place to stay in while their house is getting the work done. So relocations is an interesting space to be in. Jiez does a lot of relocations, um, and I guess there's a lot of money to be made here in helping and supporting people that are in dire need and in quick need of a house. Government contracts is something that blew my mind, y'all. This is something that I just discovered recently. Thank you, KP. KP is GS's husband, and both of them are amazing real estate people. I'm going to try and find some IG links as well and post them in the description. But government contracts, y'all, this is where you sort of work with government as the main customer. And if you're from America, you know that governments are probably the biggest uh, buyers, right, of contracting and contracting goods. So helping the military personnel, helping whatever their needs may be, like, hey, there's a contingent coming in for a couple of days, or which means there's a big amount of people required for a small time, or a big amount of people required for a big time. And all of this is set up so that in a pretty structured way, so you can sort of send out your proposals and solicit a request for that contract. um, so yeah, GS also talks about property splits. We touched on this a little bit earlier about how some of the really big properties don't really need to be so big and can be split down, especially with nuclear families dissolving and things like that. Buying creative finance deals. I'll just go back to my first page here, and even though we didn't really talk about what creative finances, you guys, we're going to talk a lot about that, because um, that's something that my mentors practice and preach. And if I was to just put it on a high level, this creative finance would fall under this bucket. So this is creative and this is traditional. All right, so that's a topic for next time. I think that's it for now, you guys. I'm going to stop my screen share. I hope this is valuable for you guys. And feel free to subscribe and like and stop by again for some more real estate knowledge. This is the Rich Fridge, and we're going to be talking about business and real estate on this one. Thank you, you guys. Take care.